afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Kellogg Alumni Club of West Africa's event, The Anatomy of a Deal. We are very pleased and happy to be here, right here in these beautiful grounds at the U.S. Consular General. I am Ugochi Nwoga. I am a Kellogg alum. I am the Chief Finance and Strategy Officer of my nearly 2-decade family business, Tile Home Healthcare Services in St. Augustine, Florida. I am also the co-owner and curator of an African contemporary art gallery, Oviko Gallery, in St. Augustine. And Oviko Gallery is the only gallery in the world that houses the works of renowned Nigerian artist Chike Onora. It is my pleasure and honor to be here, all the way from Florida. I just got in last night. Thank you. I would also like to welcome our distinguished guest and fellow Kellogg alumnus, Mr. Peter Obi. Thank you. So the Kellogg Alumni Club of West Africa was formalized to establish Kellogg's market presence, to improve brand awareness in Nigeria and beyond, and in West Africa, and to create needed referrals amongst alumni and access to opportunities, and also to help build events such as the one that events and engagements such as the one that we have here that speak to the core values of Kellogg. And the overarching theme of the Alumni Association is authentic leadership. And Kellogg has taught us authentic leadership and how to maximize that authentic leadership in many ways. By knowing yourself, learning to connect, keep requesting feedback, and to be transparent and reflective in your leadership. And that is in part why we are here today, to have an authentic and transparent conversation around the details of this deal between Kupanda Capital and Mavin Records, what it took to craft, execute, and build Africa's most impressive VC exit. So on that note, we look forward to an enlightening conversation centered on the art and science of value creation within the creative sector, exploring the alchemy of venture capital, tech innovation, and artistic brilliance. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julie LeBlanc, and I'm the commercial counselor here at the U.S. Mission. So on behalf of the U.S. Consulate General and on behalf of the Department of Commerce, thank you all for coming. We're very excited to see you here with us this afternoon. Your Excellency, thank you. We're honored to have you with us in the Consul General's home. And a huge thank you both to Ada Osakwe and also to the Kellogg Alumni Club of West Africa, to Kupanda Capital and to Mavin Records. This is an incredible event, so I will not talk too much because I don't want to take up the room before it, but I think this afternoon's programming will be incredibly interesting, as you can tell by who's with us in the room. I said that I represent the U.S. Department of Commerce. This is the U.S. Trade Ministry, and this week has been especially interesting. We have had 2 visits at the same time. The Assistant Secretary of Commerce was here for 6 days, 4 days in Lagos, which was not even enough time, and 2 days in Abuja. And we're negotiating, deepening the trade ties between Nigeria and the United States. And he saw the tech sector, he saw the creative sector, and he left already planning his next trip back here. We also had President Biden's Advisory Council on African Diaspora Engagement, who also saw the creative sector. So if you don't know our Department of Commerce, what we do is we bring US companies to do business here in Nigeria. We help them find the right partners and we help them do deals. So I couldn't be happier to welcome you all to this event, which talks about, as they said, a landmark deal in the creatives. So the creatives industry, as you all know, it helps Nigeria tell its story through US streaming platforms, Netflix, Amazon, the music platforms, but also it's a business. And this is really bringing together businesses to tell the story, but to make deals. So I want to thank, again, everyone who put this together. This was a lot of work. I absolutely love the anatomy of a deal, and I think really hearing from the experts, hearing how this went from start to finish, what we want is to do this again and again. I hope we all join here soon to be talking about the next deal like this. And that's it. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming to our house today.
So we are going to have next our panelist and moderator come up to the stage.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to see you all here. A packed room, and I believe, how many people do we have streaming right now? We have a packed webinar as well. So hi to everyone online. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. My name's Adele Sakwe. I'm the co-president of the Kellogg Alumni Club of West Africa. I'm an entrepreneur based here in Lagos. And I'm in the food space and the ag space. Just really excited to be repping Kellogg today in the purple. You can see. I say that when people, if you cut me right now, I bleed purple. Like those who are my friends know how much the school means to me, the values that, you know, we got shaped by while we were there, and just really, really just the connections that were made. I think, Linda, I met you just before Kellogg, right? In Tunisia at the African Development Bank. Linda was coming while I was going to Kellogg for my...
She's being very humble.
My
is part of the crew that hired me. So this is a very full circle moment.
When I was going for my MBA, but then kept that relationship going. Absolutely. It's just been wonderful to know you, to know your family, to, you know, just been so blessed. And Teka, good to see you again. I think the first time we met was at Linda's wedding in New Orleans, and just, you know, your leadership and what you and Jazzy have done at Mavin Records is so impressive. And we just really wanted to hear this story. I was saying to Linda that, you know, one of the things that I think Kellogg stands for is low ego, high ambition. There were some folks at school when I was at Kellogg that I think it was at graduation day, I found out they were Olympic winners and stuff. As in, I was like, I've known you for 2 years. How come I didn't know that, right? It's just the humility and just being able to put your head down. Some people call it like, you know, just champion mentality, but just humble champions. And that's what I really see in Kupanda, right? Kupanda Capital, you're a partner, Linda, and you guys are the epitome of being humble champions. Head down, building. People barely even knew you were associated with this deal, right? And so I just felt that alignment in terms of what we stand for at Kellogg, and what you obviously represent, was just really great meeting of minds. And I do want you, and I thank you for being here to tell a little bit of this story, because I know we can't really go into every detail for confidentiality reasons, but as much as you can share, we do appreciate this. So let's get in. Let's really get this conversation going. And I think we'll start from the origin story. So guys, this is the anatomy of a deal. And, you know, for me, it's always like, you see those headlines on TechCrunch, Business Day, they'll put it, somebody has announced a fundraise, or these guys just did an exit. And so this one came out in like February, in March. And you're like, okay, so how, what, who was behind it? Who got this going? Can we just learn a little? This is a sector that's still just truly coming out of its shell. So I really want us to dig into the stages of building a VC, a venture capital deal in this way. So let's get to the origin story of just even how Kupanda courted you or not, or how you guys
That's the right
courted.
word.
That's the right word. So
word.
please, both of you
That's
would love
an
to hear
apt
that.
comparison because you'll hear some he said, she said.
said.
Two very different vantage points because I had to look back to when the first communication I had with Tega. It was in September 2016. And there are a lot of people, who aren't in this room, but there are some who are that deserve some recognition. And Rima Tahini, who's now the head of A&R at Mavin Records, was at that time our senior associate. And as people say, this thing started out, it went down in the DM. But I'll tell you a little bit more.
Instagram DM.
Yeah.
As
I'll
in-
tell you a little bit more of what we were looking for. At that point in time, we were starting to look at, this market, it's so big, so dynamic, and fundamentally we're starting to look at the music industry. But there was a lot going on. There was a lot of fragmentation. You had some very, large names signed already to external global music record labels. So for us, we were looking for an entity with track record that had the ability that had already made stars and had the ability to do it over and over again. And there was one name that resoundingly came up over and over again, and that was Don Jazzy. He'd had his own very storied, career as a frontline artist, but as a producer and as a record label owner, he had the ability and the resilience to start from scratch with artist development. So for that, it fulfilled the platform that we were looking for. So at that point in time, Rima, she reached out, her roommate, just being very clear, she DM'd Don Jazzy. And I think
slid into the DM.
Slid into the DM. But I think already it starts speaking to the character and professionalism of both Don Jazzy and Tega. This could have been lost in history. We'd be talking about something else or nothing at all. But he took it, sent it to his, at that time, the head is, senior head of marketing. He said, I don't know what a Kupanda is, but maybe it's a partnership. And so Tega reached out to us and he was like, oh, okay, maybe there's an opportunity for partnership. And from there, we courted, we courted you for 2 years. And I'll let you give your side.
No, I remember my first call with Rima and I said, hey, do you guys need an endorsement? Like, do you want us to promote Kupanda? Because I went on the internet, I didn't see anything. I was like, is this a serious thing? These guys with capital, they keep it very, very low key. So I didn't see a lot of digital footprints. I was like, oh, do you people need endorsement? Because normally what I do at Mavin at the time was sponsorship and endorsement. Then I found out they were very serious with regards to, we want to really, scale Mavin, we want to invest in Mavin. And I think the word courtship speaks it because it was interest from both parties, but we were not looking to raise money. We didn't know what raising money looked like. So when we started seeing the work that it required and the what we had to become, we're like, okay, Jazzy, do we really want to do this thing? And it was tough. I remember we had the 10-sheet exchange and the deal almost fell off in January. And we started watching a TV show. I think it's called Silicon Valley.
Oh, okay.
So we started watching the show. We're like, okay, I think we're inside this series. This is, I think it's Rod Piper or some app like that. We're like, oh, we're in this series. I'm sure that these are the investors and we're the founders. And just the will as well. And I think one thing that really worked for, I'll say, my relationship with me and Jazzy. Jazzy is somewhat of a perfectionist. Me, I'm more of a progressionist. So I'm always like, oh, something should be moving, something should be moving. So him having that creative vision that, oh, I want my company to be big, I wanted to have these resources. I'm like, okay, I think we have an opportunity here with regards to the Kupanda Capital opportunity, but we have to be transparent and educate them on who we are, what we want, and on what basis we'll do it. And like any negotiation, they're happy compromise whereby you're like, okay, I actually want this thing, but I feel like your wedding, right before you went on my birthday, the Ghana one, I think in Ghana, that's when we signed term sheet, and then we went for the wedding in New Orleans, and we just felt like, okay, what's the worst that will happen? We've known this for over 2 years. Like, let's just close this deal and get to work. And I think we announced February 2019, and that was the journey. But it was just a case of mutual intent. We wanted to build something together, and the rocky and sweet journey was part of it.
And that 2 years was important. And I think it's important to talk about, value creation even before. If we were looking for, perfect balance sheet at that point in time, it would have, or everything, P&L to have been perfect, we wouldn't have done the deal. This was a situation where we got to know the founders, we learned about their business, and we were able to help build financials together. We knew what it was we needed to build in order to, create a large institution or company. And I think some of the things that are oftentimes hiccups, we decide to build those things together, knowing the joint vision.
Linda, can you speak to the cash after a show and how you're trying to count it? As you build financials.
Oh, yes, okay.
remember you mentioned.
So, early on, and Rima's laughing because it was Rima and, a few other associates, they'd be on the phone at 3 a.m., DC time, talking to Teg. I don't know what he was doing. He might be 3 a.m. your time, 10 p.m. for us. So, they were trying to build a P&L, and he'd be like, okay, so you come back from a show with 3 bags of cash. And, and we were like, okay. And that was, and he'd be like, and then you might pay 1, 2. And we were, so that came down to understanding what the promotion budget was, what live revenue would look like, because we had to build an investment thesis. But,
No, but Linda always said, Rima and Jordan counted some money too. Johnny put in Abuja.
that I did not know.
So yes, it was a business that had so much cash. Like, who are you dealing with? Somebody that wants to do his daughter's wedding, is into maybe trade or something. They will tell you to come to his house and pick up the money. Even if you tell him that you want to send contract and invoice, mean that you don't want to do this. Because he's Oga, why are you sending me contract? Who will sign it? Who will read it? Please bring Ricardo Banks and Corey here. Let them come and perform. So that was what we had. And I was trying to explain to them that, look under my table. This is cash. I just came back from the show. This is the money. But the patience they had to really understand that there was value there. And also to just we as well being cooperative. That's what I always say. You have to give them the credit. Not a lot of business owners will want their systems to be truncated for the potential of what you don't know. So.
And I think that's a key thing. It was trust, because this was a business that was over 90% cash and Naira denominated when we started, and it's over 90% hard currency today, right? So there is a vision. It's true, but. No, but and you have to remember the dates here, right? We invested formally in 2019, and they had a live business, right? And so we were like, the future's in digital, and they were like, okay. And you too wanted distribution agreements. It was part of how you saw the expansion. But I don't think we realized how critical that would be, because after 2019 came 2020, COVID, right? And so. But that business is already on its way in terms of a thesis where there was trust. I mean, the distribution agreements that we put in place were fundamental to creating what a digital first company. But yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's just beautiful to listen to, and I'm glad you touched on the digital first aspect, because it's pretty much what flipped the script when it came to valuation and these conversations. So thanks for giving us that context, and that marriage. Sort of was like for 5 years, right? So 29, yeah. So and then you now have this potential exit opportunity as an investor. You, Queen and BJ, you're like, okay, sitting at DC, you've been doing this thing, you've been building. Can we speak to the inception stage of the deal? Sort of what was, how was it sourced? How was it ruminated? How did you sort of think about this potential sale?
Yeah, and Teg, you can jump in. Sure. Some of this wasn't it wasn't a linear moment. It was this business. We did a lot of things operationally. So speaking to even Rima became the head of A&R. Jordan moved out here to Jordan, who's a senior associate at Kupanda, moved out to actually help build make critical hires, some of whom are here, head of operations, Jennifer Imion. We have Ifeoma, who's our, director of finance. So these were very, very critical hires that actually assisted in growth. Now, Ntega, you can say it, over time, there's like it was a curve of growth that, was pretty fast. And ultimately, I always say these things are preparation and sometimes some luck. And luck met some preparation. we had a song that was bubbling. And
Which
it
one
wasn't
was that?
even, and this is before Selena Gomez, we started to say, oh, it's getting big. And so at that point in time, we started to just talk about what it would look like to have partnership opportunities that would help Mavin further increase its global reach.
And I think just to add to what Linda is saying, when they came in, it was the first time, if those that saw the news in 2019, was the first time we had non-music money. So most time, if you have music money, you're having it from a ventures division of a music company that is focused on maybe bringing you into the tent, understanding your business, and then they make an accusation or a big JV offer to your company. So when we had those offers in the same time with Kupanda's offer as well, but we thought Kupanda's offer was more ecosystem oriented. Most of the people just really cared about product commitments.
And
how
that's
many
so
albums-
counterintuitive,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You would think a strategic investor would be more aligned,
No,
but
no,
instead
no.
a financial
No,
investor
it
was
was,
more
and
aligned.
it was so rare. And I think it spoke to the trust that we've built where we knew that we've educated them on the importance of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
We don't just want to be one tree in the forest. It don't make any sense. We're not even protected if we build that kind of ecosystem. So what we did was when we got their investment, we only went for distribution deals. So we never signed any long licensing deals, very short-term deal. We came with our own money. We didn't ask for any advance. So it shocked the system. They're like, what do you mean you don't want advance? Like, we don't want marketing budget. We don't. What do you mean you don't want? We're like, oh, we have investors. What type of investors? Foreign investors. So that institutional tree of foreign investors doing due diligence on your company, investing serious money behind you, we just had serious leverage on the table. Every territory we went to close distribution deals. Now that made us attractive in the market with regards to value, because now the big boys are like, okay, why don't they want to do business?
There's a
with
David
me?
and Goliath.
Yeah.
These guys assaulted U.S. radio, right? And it's really difficult, right? It is a huge country, and radio's very expensive to penetrate, and so they actually did it organically with a song that just went viral. And I think that made, people take notice.
Sure.
And so at that point, we decided to get counsel. We actually got a really great advisor in Shaw Tower Capital to help us just understand the market, understand people already individually come to start talking to us, larger strategics. And so we had a process where we were able to,
Beauty contest.
Yes, yes, a process we were able to talk to people and really understand, because, I think Tyga speaks a little to the values that we were looking at. We were looking at people who really saw this Africa as a real growth opportunity and really understood that Africa to the world was not a one-time, it's not a short truncated thing. It's something that can continue into the future.
Absolutely. No, and I think the process was very helpful, because imagine us doing our day-to-day business and being involved in trying to raise money or close a deal. So having a banker, having Kupanda's support as well, just manage that process, made it super efficient for us to still deliver growth during the course of the due diligence. So you can imagine somebody looking at your books and okay, you're outperforming your numbers. Oh my God, we have to close this deal now. You're outperforming your numbers. So that banker process, it super educated me as an individual, as an entrepreneur as well.
No, it's awesome to hear. Linda, I just realized we didn't give context on the TPG relationship with Kupanda Capital, because some people saw headlines of TPG growth, exits and stuff. Can you just briefly
Sure,
touch on
yes.
that?
Kupanda Holdings is a joint venture with TPG Growth. So we get capital from them, and we manage it and deploy it in, companies like Mavin that are high growth.
Awesome. So thanks for that. I love us to talk on the due diligence, and you started kind of going into it. What did that really entail? What were some of those highs and lows as you were thinking, is this deal going to happen? How long did it take? Who was involved? And as you think about the fact that we just hadn't seen this sort of deal in Africa yet, so what were those questions, and just what you can share?
I'll speak pretty high level to it. It's literally the pillars of every company, right? So I think one of the most impressive ones was the corporate governance. So when somebody looks under the hood of your car, like, oh my God, it's clean. You have board meetings, you have minutes, you have everything. Wow. So that was impressive. I think our tax as well, efficiency, just how our tax books were kept was impressive. We had HR as well. Do you have ghost workers, or are these workers really, really real, to just boost the value of your company? And as well, the financials.
Yeah.
That was where credit, if you
Oh,
respect,
iffy.
that was where the battle So that, and also just the concept of understanding our business, because they've never seen anything like our business. So once we signed that NDA.
What do you mean they had never seen anything like your business? You're a music business, and Universal is in the business of music. So what did that mean? What does that mean?
I will say what it is. So, people will see Africa, Nigeria as difficult, right? So, and some of them have made attempts, in the marketplace, but they were so amazed about how we did it, right? Especially when it's not music money. So they're like, okay, how do you get this money in? How do you deploy? What are the fiducial things you do with regards to making sure that the finances are well managed? And then the strategy. So simple things like contracts. Our contract types are different.
Yes.
Then we don't go into long licensing deals. We only do distribution.
With your artists.
Distribution deals. Even things as simple as, okay, we know there's a small pool of employees within the market. So we have an executive talent program we do every year in collaboration with Jenny. For we'll bring in 5 young people, come and work with us for 6 months. So everything we're doing was so systematic. They're like, wow, we've never seen anything like this anywhere else in the world. You're really building your entire, we have our content team. We have nearly everything. Maybe not everything, but at least a large percentage of what we need was within Mavin in-house, which normally you find in 7 different companies.
So you were schooling them?
Yes,
It was
because
mutual education.
it was mutual education. It was, I think, even when we first invested in 2019, we had a lot of external consultants that were saying, no, this is how agreements should look. Cut them up like this. And to their credit, you guys were very clear in saying that won't work here. It just won't work. And, we try and say, well, maybe this is what the experts in other jurisdictions are saying. And we were able to actually come to, we had our agreement structures look different because we made deeper investments in our artists earlier on. And so we just structured them differently. And to that end, after we'd refined those over the course of the years, they were such that large institutional strategic investors looked at them and they were like, these are pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Right. And so.
No, I think, this honing into the fact that you said it was a mutual thing, and the learnings between you guys and the UMG team is so important because they actually don't see this as an acquisition. They see it as a strategic partnership. They're going to learn so much on how to do Afrobeats, right? How to truly scale in this continent and beyond. So I think that's really important to note. I wanted to speak, and maybe we move on. How long did the due diligence last?
It's a blur now. It was long, and I think,
smiling.
Pardon me?
Plus the bankers 2 years.
Wow.
Well, yes, and let's be clear. There was a pre-period before specific, UMG. Our bankers had to make sure we were marketable because, this wasn't charity for them.
Yeah.
So that was the first round. They scrubbed us and, they were making sure everything we said we'd made. And that Ife's life for the past 2 years and Jenny's life for the past 2 years and Jordan Slick here for it was continuous. We'd say something, they would need, we'd give them a document and they would be like, what's the source of the source of the source of this document? Wow. And so that's what happened. So we did that once with our bankers and, we high-fived. They're like, this is cute, but you're about to go through the rigors of a, publicly traded company. And publicly traded companies cannot play around, right? So it was, I think Tega spoke to it, making sure quality of earnings was there, ensuring that corporate governance, every board meeting that we'd had minutes, and they were, we're so thankful that was there because they looked and asked for every single one, every quarterly board meeting over the course of the last 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
And so I think it points to the importance of building something fit for purpose.
Yeah.
We knew that we all had the joint vision that we wanted to build something that could, even if it was going to be, just us forever, it would be something that, we could look back at our books, we could withstand audit because that was included in our investment. But furthermore, it was fit for if any strategic or international player would want to look at it. There's some things to be creative on, but there are other things that have to look a certain way in order for investment to be made. So you can be creative on your agreements and make sure they're fit to market, but no one wants to see anything completely different in, the financials or, with respect to corporate governance and board meetings.
So those were like the non-negotiables, right? Because I'm digging in because there are creatives here and there are creatives listening, and they're thinking about how do I truly make my business fit for purpose? How do I truly build something today for where I know I want to take this?
Yeah, and I think that was the quality, the magic of the partnership. Mavin Records has something we don't have. They have the ability to develop and market artists, and fundamentally, they, inspire their team, right? I think that we came in with the ability to help them build the business, right? So fundamentally, we shared a vision, but ultimately it was making sure we had the right people in place, hiring some of the right team to help, to execute upon that. And furthermore, putting the right structures so that we could build a business that, it was a creative business, but it's a business.
Yeah.
And it's a business.
Serious business. Yeah, I think the thing I used to tell people in the creative space is, look at Mark Zuckerberg, for example, and Meta, right? In his hostel, that would look like he was playing games or having fun, but his former CEO was from Google. No, I think Sandy was from Google, the former CEO of his company. So once you're touching money, there's potential for it to be serious. So whether it's creative, whether it's football, whether it's sport, just be serious. Once you're touching money, then it gets more serious.
Once you're touching money, just be serious.
It gets more serious if it's other people's money.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's a serious business, yeah.
No, that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing that. Once you're touching money, be serious. Yeah. Okay, so let's move to the stage of negotiation and closing, right? Negotiation, price, valuation. These are things that it was a major consideration, how you thought through that. So what were the other major considerations as you thought through how you were going to close this and see it to the finish line?
A lot of record labels are measured off of net label share, and publishing assets are valued off of what they call NPS or publishing share. And so we even had both of those things, but it was also a really serious growth company. It had frontline artists, and it was growing rapidly. So I think those were some of the things that factored into, really good value.
So it's a premium.
Yes, absolutely.
And they understood that.
It was a premium. It's a market that many of the larger strategic majors had tried to operate in, right? It was not as though it hadn't existed to them. And Mavin Records had done it well, and it was...
I'm asking because there was no precedent transaction, right? There was nothing that you could say, okay, this is the comp from what happened in Afrobeats sale, And so how did you shared with us some of the metrics that you used, and then you have this premium. You're sitting together as Kupanda and Mavin and thinking, how much are we going to put on this? How did that go? Did you put it on the paper and slide it across the board table?
You know why we didn't do that? Because process, we had such a good banker.
Okay.
We had an excellent banker who, comps can be geographic, but then they can sit outside. There's,
exactly,
right?
Completely.
Comparables are exactly that. You think about in other jurisdictions where there are fast growth, you think about even a U.S. frontline label that had hockey, stick style growth, and we had an excellent banker. I think that shout out to David Dunn and Shaw Tower Capital. They really helped us in that process.
And were you guys in the room together? Were you doing it as a partnership in those conversations?
Yeah,
all the time.
Yes. Yeah, and I think just to add is what it was for the eventual partner, which is UMG, right? So Africa has potentials, and our track record spoke that we believed in the continent more than maybe some other people that are playing within the space. So it was, okay, who best to deliver your African mandate than this partner in Nigeria?
Yeah.
So then, of course, our forward, everything that involves, okay, where are you going? What are your strategic initiatives you want to invest in? I think it was a nice cocktail of that, where we just further reinforced that we're approaching African entertainment from a very unique approach, which they saw and placed the premium.
So what's that premium as you think about maybe from a multiple standpoint, from a number of zeros standpoint? Is it something you can share? The mic is not like
it's nice to see, it's nice to see 10 times more.
That's awesome. How we doing with attendees, so we don't miss the people online. Okay, so I just really wanted to speak to the fact that we know at the end of the day there's this sort of post-investment integration. I guess it's going on now, maybe. So can you speak to how that process is going and just sort of what is it? You just came back from a retreat today, and thank you so much for moving straight here. But can you speak to the post-investment integration?
Yeah, I can speak to some of it. So I think there's one thing that you have to do with an entirely corporate team on M&A team with regards to just doing the actual deal. And then there's a whole process of, okay, these are, I think the first thing that I would say I respect so far with the process is they don't want to change what we're doing. They want to give us more resources to keep doing what we're doing. But like Linda said, there are just some things that you can't be fancy around. So, okay, how do financials look forward? Because we're a public trading company, how would you report it to our system so we can report to our shareholders? So those things, they're extremely thorough. If you and a team, they're leading some of those conversations. And then, okay, you have staffs. Okay, now let's go and confirm they're not ghost workers. And Jennifer and I are making sure how do you do promotions, how do you put the salaries balance look like, all of those things. Then we'll have like, things like supply chain, because what they're trying to have is have our own supply chain to distribute at a more affordable rate. So there are just multiple aspects of their business. This is a very big business with multiple territory nuance. So, okay, how would Mavin look if it goes into the UK? If you're going to the US, if you're going to India, for the 66 countries. So it's how are you partnering within our ecosystem to get the most value, of course, for Mavin, and then of course, to be risk and made investments.
Anything from you? Thank you. I'm going to take a Q&A break before I just continue with a few more closing questions. So, for folks in the room, do you have any burning questions or anything you've heard right now to ask our panel? Your minds are like, Obi, please.
Let me do it real quick. The question I was going to ask is, how do you guys think, so when you're looking at this potential transaction in terms of asset development, do you also think about the current assets they had at the time, and how do you think they were going to look at acquiring and developing new artists? What were you thinking around working with them? Did you kind of say, you guys are working at this, we're going to get involved in asset development and things like that? So how do you kind of work around? Because that's the...
So Obi had tried twice over the course of due diligence. I was like, maybe we should, and they were like, that's how we do things. And to be fair, our thesis was, I do not an A&R. I've never built, no one does a hit song like me. So I mean, so it's just, but to be, so there was, even though there were things that looked risky to us or certain decisions, we were backing them based on their track record. And so to date, and I'm probably unique in this, I do not listen to a maiden song until it's released. So I can consume it with the, eat it with the masses, right? Because fundamentally, what they do, they have expertise in it, and that was fundamentally important for us to just allow them to do what they did and provide them the scaffolding and infrastructure so that, we could have cash management in place. We could have the right people.
We have another question here. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. My name is Mavin. The news, the headline this morning was Universal takes a majority stake. So what is that majority stake in percentage terms? Because I can't remember if I saw that. And then what was the thinking from your end in terms of whether you would end up losing sort of your creative control? You're getting all this stuff, getting exposure globally, but how much control were you losing? What was your thought process during that time?
So there's a reason why you don't see the setting. It's their own art form. The big guy decided not to say it. So who am I? So that's why you see it anyway. But the thought process, I think, considering all the people that came to the process, UMG was a home of entrepreneurship. So there are a lot of people that I look up to in terms of labor bosses, people that have done it long enough. They run their labels like entrepreneur.
So we have the center that does like what we call shared service, and we have cultural units, different business units that run differently. So us going through due diligence and me kept saying, look, if we're going to do this deal, it spoke to them about structure. This is how we would like to retain autonomy. You can have a majority share of the profit when we bring the spoils, but with regards to day-to-day operations, this is what is critical for us to close the deal. And like Linda was saying earlier, during the course of the due diligence, we're still performing our numbers. So they're like, okay, cool, don't disturb them. You want this thing, you want that thing, because the longer they stay in the process, the more expensive it became. So they're like, let's wrap this thing up so everybody can go to bed. You know? So it was one of those things where they really just respected that we built something. 12 years is not play. If this is what you've done, just take my resources and build a bigger business. So I'll have to give them credit for just how big they are and the amount of respect that they pay to us in the process.
Awesome. So I'm just going to go to the back when it comes to you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kupanda. Hello, Linda. So I know this deal and partnership with Mavin is the best deal that Kupanda has ever done. So let's just put that down because Nigeria. But more to come. But on a more serious note, I mean, you know, I've followed Kupanda. You know, I know that you're interested and you're investing in different companies and organizations on the continent. You're very bullish, and I give you guys credit for that. What is it about this partnership or deal with Mavin that makes it different from the other deals that you've done on the continent? What is the it factor that makes this, I mean, let's say for the purpose of this room, makes it better than the others? Or what makes it even maybe even that might have given you more sleepless nights compared to other deals that you've done?
So we're clearly, recording. All children are great. All children are great. No, but when we talk about our relationship with Mavin, why it's special and stuff, look, sometimes there's once in a lifetime style partners, and John Jazzy, Tega, and the Mavin team are that. I think that, to be fair, 6 years, you're seeing a lot of the highlight reel, but to be frank, if Tega tells me the sky is blue, I don't have to look outside. And so when you have an ocean separating you at times, and he's saying, this is what's happening, this is why our people will need X%, this is what's happening on the ground, this is what our people need, this is what our staff need, I don't have to say, well, let me check, or let me make 3 calls, because I trust him, right? And I have to say, they had a level of trust that I don't think I've ever said this to you, as we started saying, hey, we should start looking at the landscape and thinking about maybe getting a banker. They were like, all right, let's do this. And they really trusted us. I'd be like, here's a report, what do you think? And they're like, what do you think? Let me talk to you, So there's a really unique amount of trust that made it really special, I think. And I think obviously it's fun. It's fun to be, we look forward to the releases, the actual business is amazing. But I actually think it's that trust. How about you, what would you say?
Yeah, I'm saying it's the trust, and it goes back to why we named the company Mavin. So Mavin dictionary meaning is one who's skillful in a particular field. So not people don't like jack of all trades, but we just like the super great knowledge. Like if you're doing this thing, just focus. And Jazz is like Professor X from X-Men, he believes in assembling those people. That's why there's the S for Mavin. So whenever told them they were gathered, we don't think there's anything we cannot do. So when they came out, we realized that. We just realized that if you found that we live in Africa, it's no joke. They're spending quality time on the continent. So they live in Africa, and then you wouldn't see them on phone call, right? So if they live, they're in traffic with me. We're testing the professor together. So it was so obvious that they believe on the continent, they believe in Nigeria, and then when they looked at our business, and Jazzy said, "Don't put any book. Pour it there. If they don't want to do, we continue with our lives." And they came, they saw everything, and helped us build the books. So that was the amount of trust that we had, that these people knew what they were doing. They are great business builders, and if we are vulnerable with them and they are vulnerable with us with what they know and what they don't know, we can only go into the world and take on our challenges together.
We say also,
you know, UMG, those confused why people want to hear that part, hear that part, why did you decide to go to UMG?
So I don't think there's an outcome one thing they were interested at the same time that when I was interested with the ones who Kupanda at that time. It was just, I think, more than anything, I have to give UMG's team credit for just showing up. We were big on showing up, so I think on just culturally, then we started talking to ourselves, the data room, the way they came in, if they're managing all these people, we just knew that there's just a level of seriousness that we started right after we were showing up for ourselves mutually. And I think also too, these things worry you, right? When somebody's taking majority stake in your business, they're looking for things that are familiar. So we're already doing business with them. So we're already doing Rema business with the division of their business. We're already doing Arab business division of their business. So those things just kind of smoothing it, just make it easier for us to, you know what, everybody that is putting things on the table, just look like a business that we can take and handle. But it was really showing up and the familiarity as well.
Can I ask how long you guys started talking to
Sorry.
when you just started talking to when you actually concept
Oh, between.
Yes.
Maybe this is your.
I have a chronological.
It's about 2.5 years.
2 years, 3 months.
Yes, and there was a lot of chasing, and I can say that specifically.
So in that time there was a lot of bickering and butting heads.
No. It was hi, and being like hi, I'm here, and Tega being like we're busy, or else like and or else not even we're busy. Sometimes Tega might send me an agreement. Like Tega, he'd send me an agreement. What do you think? And we give advice. We remain friendly. I'd say, oh, this is what I might do in this situation. So it was actually just getting to know one another. Every time we'd come to Nigeria for other things, I might knock on their door. There'd be a meeting. And I'd say, remember, we might refresh the same presentation. And say,
True.
Yes.
Yeah, the 2 years, 3 months. And like I said, we knew we wanted to grow, we didn't just know what how. So when the opportunity presented itself, we're like, okay, why this one? Like, why should we do it? But the increase of human touch, we're just always talking. Again, like she said, I was just here at an agreement and say, Linda, look at this. But thinking of bringing this in the future, it would make sense. They had a data company that was in their portfolio that was said they can do some data work for us. So I have to give them credit. They extended themselves from the early value creation in law that most people that have money or capital or funds don't want to do free work. So they were just in there, just being with us. And I think that our own increase in attention to the deal came when we started watching the Silicon Valley.
It was a very definitive moment because I'd been there for you. And one day he picked up the phone, he's like, hi, I reviewed your presentation. And as I think about it, I was like, what happened? He's like, season 1.
Episode 6.
So firstly, I'm going to download.
It's hilarious, but it's interesting.
You have a question at the back there.
My name is Omo.
Please project. Apparently, we still have the Zoom folks.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Without the mic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, despite the, negative stereotype you have related to things Nigerian, right? But despite that fact, Nigerian music has really burst into the international scene. I think the other day, some parliamentarians in Canada were arguing over Afrobeats. So, what would you attribute that, sudden surge of interest and success in Nigerian music genre?
So what people might consider maybe the jackpot thing as, for me, it's a gift and a cost, right? So there's a cost whereby you lose talent, gift whereby you export ambassadors, right? So Nigerians everywhere, we know how we do now, we get presents. So once they enter, they will just start going visible. So most of them I see on social media, they are office DJs, maybe at their place of work, they trust them to be the front person. So they have like that. Yes, so they have the international colleague, they'll force jollof rice on the menu, they will take over the music. So we start seeing like challenges on maybe TikTok or Instagram. So once something is viral at home, they try to replicate it there. Then also you have the international student, that's the bull's eyes. So the ones that once they land in Heathrow or Atlanta, their IP changed to US or UK IP. So they start earning in foreign exchange. But they were just here last week. But once they move over there, once they watch something on YouTube or pay a monthly subscription on Spotify, you start earning that revenue in FX. And because they're students, it's just, it's very young demographic. Everybody wants to try something on the internet. So that's just another suite of people that have helped us propagate the music further within the international space. And I'll give credit to everyone on this one. Everybody have been placing bets on the artists locally. I think from 2017, 18, we started getting more aggressive with regards to international investment. So we're now traveling more, trying to put up shows over there as well, just to show people a proof of concept that come and watch. And then you see people doing stadiums, but those were the back of giants years ago that put money, lost them, or small-time promoter in Houston that maybe sells goat meat and some people will add music shows to it as well. It truly took a village to come this far with regards to the explosion of music.
Awesome, thank you.
Sorry, since we last. Earlier on,
You can project for the people on Zoom.
earlier on, we talked about when you started off, it was 10%, 90% local currency, and now it's 90% foreign currency. Since we last, was that intentional or coincidental? And what I'm asking is, if it's intentional, how does that play into the creative vibe? Because to keep earning that 90% foreign currency is outside of Africa, right? Europe, US. How does that play into the creative content? In which case you're trying to appeal to that market versus the home base that really give you that sort of outcome.
So I'll speak from just the day-to-day runnings of the company. I think the beauty of Mavin, most times, but honest, just me, I'll probably do some things differently. Our founder is a creative. So he's now a stubborn creative, which means he's had success as an individual, as a producer, artist, celebrity. So he's not really trying to do things to appease people. I don't have to do anything to, if you like, we do, if you like, you don't do that. So that demeanor actually gives us creative freedom with our artists, whereby they can go on and do. I didn't even want to trends that if you try them, you might appeal to certain audience. Like anything, even movies or sporting companies, they might sign somebody from Asia just because they want to, get more localized new ones with regards to sometimes use remixes. So you do the original version of the song and then you do a remix to someone from that territory to give you some pathway to penetrate the market. But with regards to intentionality, just to the way our economy was prior to investment, we started doing some FX stuff on the continent. So we're going to other African countries, but we're doing it from a show standpoint.
Do you have any questions online, from the online community? Very quickly. Yes, please. Good to see you.
Hi, good to see you. It's just a question about the music business in general. You talked about, obviously, COVID pandemic had an impact on live aspect of that being part of the revenue generation. Both for Mavin and just more globally in the music industry, what is the role of live versus digital? Where do you see that going forward?
Yeah, so I will say this again, I try to apologize since it's been the last 2 months. When they came, I was so bullish on the touring. Trust me, story. I don't know about the streaming, I don't know when Nigerians are going to start streaming, but it's this touring money, that's the real money. And I've come to learn that it has a low profit margin, to be honest, because it requires a lot of cash flow to do it. And then you have a lot of your monies are outside, but by the time they reconcile the tickets for the shows and things of that nature, if we didn't have a digital streaming business, might have been calling the banks, So it generates revenue, but I've not seen the books of someone like Life Nation, but I do use our books to trend and say profit margin, it's not as big versus the streaming side of things, whereby if you just do it, you just keep accruing value over the years. So that'll be the difference.
And artists are human beings,
Yeah.
so
Well,
they
that's
can only travel so much, right?
Yeah.
Whereas streaming, honestly, you're still.
Maybe just a small follow-up. So, I mean, obviously you hear about like Taylor Swift and Beyonce.
Yeah.
Maybe they're the exception where they're making more money from touring than from use. I'm just curious.
No, so you have the outliers, right? And if you do due diligence on those shows, these are like the one-of-ones. So they're able to like mark up the price, right? So some of these tickets are like $250, $380. So exactly, right? So Beyonce, people actually in the US to fly to Europe to watch Beyonce, for example. So they are that level whereby they can command some sort of high market value prices, and then I think they have leverage. Some things like the production, they can use leverage. If you say you produce a Beyonce show, you can produce 20 more shows. If you produce my show, maybe it's only 2 customers you will have. So you do Beyonce show at super leverage. And people will tell you, this is the budget I have, fix up. So they have back-end leverage regards to how they build their entire crew. Hotels, we give them like free rooms, things of that nature that we that from Afrobeat, we cannot unlock some of those things here.
Thank you.
The Niger touring circus, within Nigeria, what's that like?
I'm a private citizen, so there's some things I can do, and there's some things I can do. What I can do is the business that we're building, and governments and other stakeholders have a role to play. Two things is, firstly, people cannot give what they don't have. So the economy is not in a place whereby people have to rethink the ticket price. It's not essential for them. So if you do show, almost 5 people, but do this one, do that one, maybe I hire my girlfriend as well. So you can't have what you have abroad, whereby you can use credit, for example, to pay for the ticket and settle it later, right? So we have some things within our economy that we need to figure out, and then other people in the ecosystem need to place some bets in terms of infrastructure for crowd management, facility design and operations, and even ticket companies as well. There's quite some work to be done with just making sure the infrastructure can carry the potentials of the 200 million plus population that we have. But today, it's not really supposed to be.
I think my question is so Kupanda is something we see will keep a lot more in the future, and the rest of the next music.
We have done fashion, so this is not our first time. And for us, I think we didn't think necessarily, we thought of it as creative. We also thought of it as a digital product, right? I mean, we use a lot of free data, so it's another company to understand really just how dynamic this market was in influencing, the rest of the continent, and also its opportunity to actually what we call infect the diaspora, and so that to Tega's point, the diaspora would have a larger total addressable market. So for us, we really looked at this as like a digital product with a really amazing co-founder. But I think that there's some analogous pieces in some of the entertainment industry. We're also, so I think there's some analogous pieces. To be fair, we're looking at other digital products across the continent too as well. Or digital exports, I'd say.
Thanks, and that's a good question. I can sort of build on that. As you think about Kupanda Capital, 5, 6, 7 years of relationship with these folks, these amazing folks, how did you create value? And you've spoken to that, including what you just said right now. I'm looking at it as a digital first deal. That's one piece. And I think it's really important if you can then break it down for us a little bit, because there are creatives in this room. This is being recorded, but when it comes to people who learn from this, how did you approach this maybe more differently than the way another typical VC would look at it? Because again, Kupanda Capital, at some point you were like a venture studio, at some point you were venture builders. How did you finally decide to approach this and build in a sector that folks are still trying to get their heads around?
And I think you actually had such an apt observation. We were not experts in the music industry. And I think that made some things, very different. We were fundamentally building a business, right? So for us, we looked at the pieces and the pillars of a scalable business that were not there. So for example, we thought, okay, it's making some money, but how is it organizing and categorizing that? So a critical piece was strengthening the finance function, and Evie was like one of our first critical, hires. And if we fast forward 5 years after she was hired, she was taking on a Zoom screen of 20 people from global consultancies and due diligence. But having that foundational hire and building the business is critical. You think about people and, operations and talent. You see Jenny, you have like, and Rima who's here, and Tega, they look at A&R, it's very creative, but Rima has P&Ls by the artist, right? So she's able to look at each artist and understand, okay, there's P&Ls by artist, right? So you're thinking it's not just the vibes matter, yes, vibes really matter. But you have to understand how the vibes are translated, right? And so those were some of the pieces that were, part of our value creation and helping interpose some of those structures into the business. And it might have been because we weren't coming at it as a pure music investor.
And I think just to add something that we probably don't say a lot because it probably not too much in our future, but it helps in our path. I think the sourcing of the consultants as well was something that I appreciated at that time because I like asking questions. So we kept bringing different people that worked in different industries, different situations, and I thought it just helped me know that, okay, definitely we're not going to try this. We should think about this in the future. So bringing those consultants that we know within my network, I felt like was valuable there at that time.
Yes, and some of the experts helped us realize how amazing you guys were too, right? Because they had different views and they were taking us in different directions. And to be fair, it made us really gain even all the more trust in our partners in this market. So.
Awesome, thanks. And maybe to you, Tega, I remember Linda telling me that when you guys closed this deal, you were like, this is for Africa. This is for all the creatives who are building, who are sweating away, who are trying to get people to see the value of what they bring. The numbers are out there. I don't know if it's true. They say it's about $1 billion. Afrobeats and creative industry contributes to our GDP. They say in the next, by 2030, it's supposed to be 100. 2030, it's about 100 billion. That's what it's supposed to go to about 6 years' time. So what do you think of those numbers? But then, Tika, can you just maybe give your thoughts, your advice to the creatives? You've already started speaking to that, but I'd love to hear.
Yeah, so I would say, with regards to the numbers, my biggest issue I've had before I started creating like serious capital and financial was like, how did they get this number? So that's always like the biggest issue. So nobody really walked me through how they get the numbers. So I see them and I'm like, wow, is this the business?
By the way, you have ATP, Opaco, AfroExi, all of them are now throwing money into creative. And you're like, okay, is this really,
those documents or those publications make me value Kupanda more. Well, because some people will come and say, okay, I just read this article, me and my friends were raising money about going into your industry. I'm like, oh, please, get flat-handed because it's crazy. I don't like to sugarcoat it. It's as serious as every other industry, be it aviation, medical science, anything you want to do that has upside, that has potential downside as well. So I'm not going to glorify Rema and Grammy and all of these things as the only thing. There are days that's not always that smooth. So Kupanda commits our business, and there were none of these fancy members were out there, and they just worked with what we had in need with their time and spend for us. It's one of the really challenges for the finances to do, which is let patient capital truly invest. Right? Go in there, spend time with people, invest in knowing your father.
You just take money from anybody.
Please know your father, because most of the things I watch online or hear like successful PE or VC bosses say, I don't think it's true, because even that's how we work with artists. The model is key, but it's the person behind the model that's most critical. So if you spend time and just trying to chase a deal and really get to know your founder, you can deal with almost any other thing that comes along the way. So on the side of financial resources or equity, I would just say be patient, because the market hasn't figured itself out fully. It's still in some sort of infancy. And with regards to the creative, I would say that creatives need executioners. They need people that no BS. Like, is this what we're doing? That's what. If you leave them, everything has to be.
What does that mean, executioners? Is it people tell creatives get a business person? Is it a business person or is it like an operational person?
Take it like every business, right? So let's say, for example, you are creative. You need legal services. You will sign things that you will later regret. So the legal person might be business savvy, but his core function and profession is law. That's what they know. So you cannot just dive into the industry and create an creative and you don't have legal protection. So okay, you're making expenses, potential to generate revenue. You need to have somebody on your team, it can be your cousin, it can be whoever. So help me look at what I'm doing. Help me understand this my financial behavior of my business and make it make sense. So people just throw the word business person. What's the core of the business? Are they good at hiring people? Are they good at marketing? Are they good at building sales campaign? So I don't like to just throw that word, oh, you need business, but no, you need executions, people that can execute your plan, but they have different skill sets, right? So I remember we get asked, I remember we get asked, Tiger, what's the first use of funds of proceeds? First use of funds. And I said, HR manager. I said, because I've always dreamt in armies. I always dreamt that maybe I had armies everywhere. So the first thing we're doing is bringing somebody in that help us hire people. So as creatives, you have to just be open to that idea that you have the creative tools, but you
They don't have money. How did you guys
you
start
big
with your
now,
books?
you big. You go big. And I used to tell people things that sometimes you
Because
have
hiring talent is money. It's expensive to get the good people.
Yeah, I don't think it's a blocker.
Okay.
I don't think it's a blocker. There's church members, there's everybody. Use
Church
what we know
members.
about Nigeria. Reach out. Because even when I look at myself, right, and Moed era before Mavin era, what did I just do? I was just curious. And credit to people like Baba Sundari and other people. They just
People like who?
offered Sundari, our first manager of Moed's record,
Okay.
right? They just offered me time. But if you don't show interest, if you are not serious as a creative, the serious people will not take you serious. So if you really hunt somebody down and say, I really need you, but I don't have money. Maybe if you chase 10 people, at least one must agree for you now.
One must
You
agree.
get so at least one person. And then when you tell somebody that I now have a lawyer, or the finance person says, okay, now you're beginning to take your stuff serious. Maybe I can give you only 2 hours a week. But I don't believe in just standing still and saying I must have money, it must be perfect before I can see some progress with regard to my creative venture. So that's what I would say as one thing.
Just get started.
Just get started. And then the second one is I really do think that they need to really ask themselves a lot of time what their unique value proposition is, because sometimes someone like myself, I see a lot of deck these days and I'm like, wow, all of you sending the same thing. It's not just to say I'm a creative, maybe you should come and do this with me. Why are you looking like photocopies? Really asking yourself, what is the market doing and how do I bring something that is unique and valuable within the space?
So for you, what's the email you'd like to receive from someone who's seeking your support? What catches your attention versus what doesn't?
So because I'm big on research, I'm always interested in seeing somebody that has done some work and say, I've been seeing that Mavin has been doing this, and this way I think I can add value.
They've done their background.
So once I see that you've done some background work, I just pay a separate type of attention to you. Even if I think that you didn't go all the way, I'll say, okay, come in. You have the thing that just needs manual to grow it. Research is critical for me.
Manual.
Yes.
Research is critical. You wanted to say something? No. Okay. I just, is there any final burning question out here that you sort of, or online? Tolu, please let me know if there's anything online. Since we're back, we have a question from Jude, I believe, CC Hub. You guys see a lot of entrepreneurs and creatives.
My question is, it's a tricky one. So either lean down or figures. Right.
That's a tricky one.
How would you describe a future where these kind of deals are the norm in another 5-6 years? What would have to happen? Should I take that again?
Thank you, Jude, for that question.
All right, thanks.
That's a good question.
It's a great question.
That's a very good question. So, like Linda told you when we did the deal, and I said this for Africa, is, when you've done something that people are saying, oh, it's one of one, it's unique, it's not been done before. I use myself as somebody that study a lot of media companies and entertainment around the world, as when they do something, it motivates me to either go and study their business model more closer, like look up their interviews, anything I can get to add to what we are doing to just shift. So I do hope that a lot of creatives see what has happened for Mavin as a moment to shift. Like, okay, maybe I should pay more attention to my books. Maybe I should actually tell my dad's friend to be on our board because he's a lawyer. Like maybe I should use this Mavin news as some sort of springboard to conversations that I should be having. But because I didn't know it was possible, now I can do that. And I think for the guys that have financial resources, is looking at Kupanda's story, how they made some things in the market and doing Mavin. I think it just allows you. I would just say, truly let the patient capital truly be patient. You get, and I do think that if those type of people meet themselves more often than not within the space, we'll see more value.
Great. I just, when we talk about this patient capital, Linda, earlier on today's conversation, you mentioned that even if a UMG didn't come along, you guys would still be in there, right? You were in it for the long haul, but you're still a financial investor. How long is long? How patient is patient? Really, let's be frank.
Hello, you can hear you. On this, my partner, Bob, who's not here, he's like, we could do this forever. And I said, yes, we're having a great time.
I can imagine, Bob.
There's always a horizon, but for this, it was one of those where, thank you very much.
There's always, financial horizon matters, but for this was one of those where obviously the story matters. It kept growing and growing. So the temptation is not was to just keep, going, but it was a critical point for the business, an inflection point where it had disrupted in such a way that we really thought, as I said earlier, it could use a global strategic partner. So again, there was that confluence of events and timing that made it so that, it was a great opportunity.
It was a great opportunity. No, thanks. We just have one question, and we're going to wrap up, from an online listener. What are your thoughts on how folks in music tech in America can partner with the Nigerian music scene? This is from Edward Chidote. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. We still need more expertise. I always say knowledge exchange is still critical. We know what we know in the space. I even think we need more technological people to look at what we're doing and just find ways to use technology to accelerate our growth. It's one thing for us to see like the smartphone numbers, the internet number, but when I check my bank account, it's not reflective. So to be important for the guys that know what they know from a tech standpoint to spend more time with us, ask us questions about the challenges we're facing, and then let's see how we can troubleshoot some solutions that might be able to help. But exchange would be a great thing to explore.
Awesome. So you heard that. I just want to thank you guys. This was just such a special conversation. Thank you for sharing in this way. The nuggets, the learnings, what you and your team have built. I know you just came from a retreat. Even when you were speaking about your team, I saw you. She's your head of operations, right? Yeah. And you were just nodding. It was like it was coming from here that you really truly feel like you guys are a team. Jordan, I hear you have a name on the board of the board.
No, she has a room.
A room. Yeah.
Jordan's Slick Room.
Yeah, yes.
What a way to just connect and build your team and build what it takes they're the ones who do the work, It's all about people. So it's so wonderful to see. So thank you so much for this conversation. I think we're just wrapping up. We have a vote of thanks from someone on our team, from the Kellogg alum. Ayo, can you please come up and just share? And we have something for you. So thank you. Round of applause. No, you can stay.
Okay.
Yeah. Just give the good.
All right, thank you, Ada. Amazing conversation. My name is Ayola Jiga, and I was sitting there. The one thing that struck me was this thing around when you're touching money.
You better be serious.
And so I've written it down. I might not, credit you with it though.
That's fine.
When you're touching money, be serious. The thing I saw as you guys were talking was, the relationship and the level of trust that must exist between the financier and the founder. And, when I reflect on a lot of things that go wrong in this environment, it's usually often a breakdown relationship between the founder and the financier. And so for me, it's amazing what you guys have done. Though I must say, when I was thinking about this vote of thanks, I was thinking I was going to come up here. First of all, I'd like to thank Don Jazzy. I'd like to thank Rima, Ayester.
Monday morning talking about me when I'm making,
Yeah,
they're making money. They're making money. Can't be here.
So there's a bit of me that's going like, yeah, maybe we should have done this one. But honestly speaking, I mean, thank you, Terga. Thank you, Linda. Yeah. Amazing conversation. Ada, thank you very much for moderating this. Thanks to the US. Is it the embassy or the consulate? Both of them. Okay, the US embassy for hosting this event. I want to thank everyone that is here. Without you, this wouldn't have been possible. And also, I'm not going to mention the names of the people that sponsored it, right? No, they won't like that. Yeah, thanks to the Kellogg alums that provided the funds to allow us to do this.
Yes.
And on behalf of the Kellogg School of Management Alumni Club of West Africa, I want to thank you very much for coming to this event. And on this note, thank you very much, Don Jazzy. And thank you all.
Thank you, Aya. Thank you, Aya. Thank you to everyone for spending your afternoon with us and sleeping. You had a big retreat in sleeping and resting. Thanks for spending your afternoon with us. On your way out, you would find packs of some food, some lunch you can take out with you. Please follow us on our social media handles. We're going to replay this on our YouTube, Kellogg Alumni West Africa. So follow us. You'd see yourself on some of the reels that will come out here. And we just truly, truly appreciate you. We have a little token. Let me see. Yeah, guys. You're like, it's not a Grammy. But like, so take out. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thanks, my dear. Linda, on behalf of the Kellogg Alumni Club of West Africa, please, we just want to thank you. Thank you so much for blessing us. And can you just read maybe what it says here?
Okay. Thank you for showing us what is possible when smart capital and artistic brilliance coincide. Kellogg Alumni Club of West Africa. Thank you so much. Okay.
Take a picture.
It's what I call music black.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I believe in love, but I also believe in spending plenty money for the one I love.